The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle, Steve Jobs. There are people who drift through their entire lives like dry leaves swept along by the stable river current, following the safe choices that society has already mapped out for them. They merely work, merely exist, and slowly lose the very feeling of truly being alive. Yet when we love what we do, work is no longer a burden. It becomes a wondrous extension of our true self, where every action overflows with profound meaning and every effort quietly ignites a flame of inspiration that burns steadily through the long night. Love for our work is the perfect harmony between reason and emotion. Just like an artist lost in their music, the line between the player and the melody disappears. Everything flows naturally, without force. On the other hand, when we accept the status quo, we lock ourselves inside an invisible cage, safe on the outside, yet suffocating and gradually paralyzing within. That compromise does not kill us instantly. It quietly erodes our passion day by day until we forget what we once longed for. Keep looking is not a sign of instability. It is living proof of a soul still full of vitality. It is the courageous journey of facing uncertainty, accepting being lost in order to discover our own unique path. Because in the end, the value of a lifetime is not measured by how far we have traveled, but by how fully we have lived as our true selves. And only when we pursue what we love do we touch great work, not because it looks grand in the eyes of the world, but because it is utterly authentic in our own hearts. If you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night with a mosquito. Reese. People often underestimate their own power to influence simply by comparing the size of their self to the vast scale of the world. Yet influence has never been about size. It is about presence at the right moment in the right place. A tiny mosquito, almost invisible in daylight, becomes the ruler in the quiet darkness of night. It needs no strength, no power, only a single moment, and a faint touch of discomfort is enough to disturb an entire peaceful night. Human beings are not limited by the scale of their existence, but by their beliefs about themselves. When we believe we are too small, we withdraw from our own ability to make an impact. Yet, when we realize that even one small action can create a chain reaction, we begin to show up more clearly, more deliberately, and with full awareness of our own worth. Like the mosquito in the night, our influence lies not in how big we are, but in how deeply we touch others. The world changes not only through grand breakthroughs, but also through small, repeated impacts that slip into the quiet spaces few people notice. A timely word, a kind act, or even steady presence, all of these can become the buzz that awakens someone else's awareness. Feeling small is not a sentence, it is merely an illusion. And when you step out of that illusion, you will realize, sometimes, simply existing with full awareness is already enough to create a profound difference. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. True endurance does not come from the body or circumstances. It springs from the meaning we give to our own existence. When someone has a reason to live, they are like a person holding a flame in the bitter cold of winter. The freezing wind still cuts to the bone. The darkness remains thick, yet they do not fall, because inside them burns a light that cannot be extinguished. Without meaning, even the smallest challenges become unbearable burdens, because the soul no longer has a reason to keep moving forward. A reason to live is the solid axis of willpower. It transforms suffering from a meaningless experience into a meaningful part of the journey. At that point, people are no longer simply enduring, they are walking through hardship with the quiet faith that everything carries its own value. Like a mountain climber who knows the summit exists, without that vision, every step feels pointless and exhausting. But once the peak is in sight, every aching muscle and labored breath becomes proof that they are drawing closer to their deepest desire. That reason does not need to be grand in anyone else's eyes. It can be a loved one, a dream, or simply the longing to become a better version of ourselves. Yet once it is real enough, it creates a quiet, unshakable strength loud enough to carry us through the moments that once seemed impossible. To live powerfully, we must first live with deep meaning. Life is not about holding good cards, but about playing well the cards you are dealt. Josh Billings. We often believe happiness and success depend on what we are given, our circumstances, our starting point, or good cards. But life is not a fair game, and that very unfairness reveals our true worth. It lies not in the hand we are dealt, but in how we read, understand, and play it. Some people hold beautiful cards, yet play carelessly, letting opportunities slip through their fingers like sand. Others begin with seemingly terrible cards, yet through clarity and perseverance they turn every move into a bold strategy for life. The shift from victim mindset to owner mindset is the key. When we blame the cards, we hand control of our lives over to circumstances, but when we focus on how we play, we reclaim mastery. This requires a deeper kind of intelligence, not just cleverness, but the ability to accept reality without surrendering to it. Like a master chess player, they do not complain about the board, they quietly discover the hidden moves, turning disadvantage into opportunity and pressure into leverage. Life is not a side-by-side comparison between people. It is a deeply personal journey where each of us plays our own unique game. Comparing our hand to someone else's only leads to discontent, while truly understanding and optimizing our own hand opens the door to growth. And in the end, what makes a life worth living is not what fate has given us, but what we have done with what we have. Never allow yourself to be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to become a victim. Never accept anyone else's definition of your life. Define your life for yourself. Harvey Fierstein. When someone is bullied into silence, what is wounded is not just a passing emotion, it is the very structure of the self, where they begin to believe their voice no longer matters. That silence becomes a sealed room where thoughts are trapped, and over time they themselves become the guard of their own prison. Becoming a victim happens not only because of circumstances, but because we accept that role as our permanent identity. There is a constant tug of war. On one side, the fear of rejection and pain, on the other, the need to exist authentically. When we let others define us, we live through distorted mirrors, seeing ourselves only through their gaze instead of our own awareness. This creates a subtle dependence. We stop living and merely exist to be seen in the way others allow. Defining your own life is not an outward act of rebellion, it is a profound inner reclamation of power. It demands the courage to say no, to speak up, and to accept that not everyone will understand or agree. Yet it is precisely in that imperfection that our true identity is forged. Like a painter who only follows others' templates, the picture may be beautiful but soulless. Only by daring to break the frame do they create something with their own unmistakable mark. Your life is not a draft for others to edit. You do not exist to fit anyone else's definition. You exist to write your own story in your own voice, through your own choices, and with the courage never to be diminished by anyone. You have succeeded in life when all you want is what you need. Vernon Howard. The line between want and need is often razor thin. For most of our lives, we are driven by desires programmed from the outside, fame, possessions, recognition, as if those were the only measures of success. Yet the more we chase them, the more we fall into paradox. The more we have, the more we feel lacking. Conventional success becomes an endless pursuit where the finish line keeps moving farther away. When a person reaches the state where what they want is exactly what they need, inner harmony has finally formed. This is not giving up on desire, it is a deep refinement, discarding borrowed wants and keeping only what truly nourishes the soul. The mind then becomes a still lake, no longer stirred by winds of comparison or pressure, but clearly reflecting what is truly enough. This is the mark of a mature self that no longer depends on outside validation to feel whole. They no longer need to show off, because there is no emptiness left to fill. They understand that need is what is essential for life and peace, while purified want becomes a conscious choice rather than a demand. Like someone truly thirsty, they do not search for every kind of drink. One sip of water is enough to soothe the deep thirst hot in. This is a very different kind of success, quiet, without fanfare, yet deeply sustainable. It is the moment when a person is no longer pulled by the world, but stands firmly rooted in themselves. And perhaps at the deepest level, success is not having everything we want, but wanting exactly what we truly need, because then life stops being a state of lack and becomes a quiet, complete fullness. Love the life you live the life you love. Bob Marley. Most people manage only one of the two. Either they accept their current life in quiet resignation, or they chase the life they love while remaining forever dissatisfied with the present. Love the life you live is an invitation to return to the here and now, to learn to see the value in what already exists, the morning light slipping through the window, the ordinary yet genuine moments. It is the ability to cultivate gratitude, turning what seems ordinary into the foundation of inner peace. But if we stop there, we risk falling into complacency, a false peace where growth ceases. Live the life you love is the powerful push that forces us to face our deepest longings, the things that truly make our hearts beat. It demands courage to change, to step out of the comfort zone, and to reshape our lives according to our authentic selves. Loving the life we are living keeps us from being trapped in a sense of lack. Living the life we love keeps us from freezing in a false sense of completeness. One is acceptance, the other is transformation. When both exist together, we reach a rare balance, cherishing what we have while never stopping our journey toward what we can become. A gardener does not merely love the soil they stand on, they patiently sow seeds to turn it into the garden of their dreams. And in that process, the line between the life we are living and the life we love eventually disappears because the two merge into one, creating a journey that is both deeply meaningful and utterly complete. The secret of success is to do the ordinary things extraordinarily well. John D. Rockefeller. People often link success to the extraordinary major turning points, explosive moments. But in reality, success is built from repeated, small, almost ordinary actions. Doing ordinary things extraordinarily well is not an empty slogan. It is the ability to maintain focus and high standards even when there is no spotlight, even when no one is watching. It is the victory of depth over flash. Ordinary people work when they feel inspired. Extraordinary people deliver the same quality even when inspiration is absent. They do not chase novelty to stay motivated. They train themselves to find meaning in repetition itself. Like a craftsman sharpening a blade, each stroke may feel monotonous, yet that very persistence creates a sharpness others lack. Excellence is not a single act, it is a habit internalized. When someone does small things on time, with care and persistence, they are building an inner operating system where quality becomes the default, no longer a forced effort. And when ordinary actions are performed at the highest level, they gradually accumulate into results that appear extraordinary. That is a form of success that is quiet yet enduring. It does not come from random leaps, it comes from thousands of steady footsteps. And perhaps the real secret is not searching for grand things to do, but turning small things into something impossible to ignore, because that is where we quietly shape our very best selves. Don't let criticism distract you. Remember that some people's success is achieved only by tearing you down. Zig Ziglar. Not every criticism is meant to build. Some words are born from the speaker's own inner lack, not from any real flaw in the person they target. When you let those words distract you, you unconsciously hand over control of your mind to others, letting them dictate the rhythm of your thoughts and actions. Like a ship on the right course suddenly changing direction because of noisy waves on the surface instead of trusting the compass within. Some people's success is achieved only by tearing you down is not cynicism, it is a deep insight. Some build their sense of worth by lowering others. They do not climb through their own effort, they pull others down to create the illusion that they are higher. Psychologically, it is a defense mechanism. Unable to face their own imperfections, they project them outward and turn others into targets. You stop reacting instinctively and instead observe with clarity. Where does this criticism really come from? And what does it reveal about the one speaking? When you no longer treat every judgment as truth, you free your energy to stay focused on your own path. Like a mountain climber who refuses to stop and argue with every echo from the cliffs, otherwise they will never reach the summit. True strength is not making everyone fall silent. It is refusing to let meaningless noise steer you. When you keep your focus, criticism loses its power, and your quiet efforts become the clearest answer, one that needs no words, yet is strong enough to rise above all the tearing down from outside. Things work out best for those who make the best of the way things turn out. John Wooden. Life does not automatically become better, it becomes better through how we engage with what we already have. Some people always focus on what is missing. They live in comparison, regret, and waiting for ideal conditions that never arrive. Yet others, facing the exact same situation, see possibility within those very limits. They do not ask, "Why don't I have more?" They ask, "What is the best I can do with this?" When someone makes the most of what they have, they stop being victims of circumstance and become creators. This does not mean denying hardship. It means refusing to let hardship define the entire story. Like an artist with only a few basic colors, they can complain about the limitation, or they can mix, experiment, and create a unique masterpiece from exactly what little they possess. When we use everything we have to the fullest, we begin to see far more than we thought possible. Possibility expands with awareness. The more proactive we are, the more we discover hidden resources, both inside and outside ourselves. Conversely, when we fail to use what we have, even great things become meaningless, like buried treasure that no one ever digs up. Things work out best is not a vague promise, it is an inevitable psychological outcome. When you pour all your awareness and energy into optimizing the present, you turn circumstances into a foundation rather than an obstacle. And in that very process, life does not merely become better in an objective sense, it becomes richer in the way you feel it. A kind of beauty that does not come from having more, but from fully unlocking everything you already possess.